Chapter 6. We drove out so slowly and quietly, Al never even came to the door of the shop. Within a few minutes, we'd crossed the muddy San Juan and passed the sign that said we were entering the Navajo Nation. The mood inside the van was delirious, an intoxicating combination of excitement and fear. Troy had his foot down on the gas pedal, trying to get off the main road as quickly as we could. Up ahead, dozens of gigantic red formations were catching the last of the sunset. "Check it out!" Rita crowed. "It's like office buildings made of stone." "Monument Valley," Freddie said. "Here's that side road turn at the trading post." Pug's face was practically propped on Troy's shoulder. "Let's get some booze and cigarettes," he said. "I can pass for 21. Troy drove right on by the trading post and onto the gravel road. "If we stop, they're going to pick us up, and we'll have cops on our trail real quick." "He's right," Freddie said. "Besides, they don't even sell liquor on the reservation." "Wise guy. Anybody got any cigarettes?" Pug said. Troy ran his hand through his hair. "Hey, big fella, we're in great shape. We're off the highway, it's going to be dark soon, and both tanks are full of gas. But if we make any stops, we're gonna blow it." Yeah, I'm cool if you are. Hey, Freddie, is that your real name?" "Frederico." I wondered why Pug seemed to dislike Freddie. The way Pug looked at him made me wonder if it was Freddie's dark skin. "How come you don't go by Rico, then?" Freddie's eyes flashed. I had the feeling he wasn't afraid of anybody, including Pug. "'Cause my name's Freddie," he said. Pug's face returned to Troy's shoulder once again. "Need a break driving, buddy?" "No thanks, Pug. I can drive all night. Driven cross-country lots of times." Star was sitting next to me. She whispered, "Can we really run the Grand Canyon, Jesse?" "That's exactly what I've been wondering," I whispered back. "I sure hope so. I'm pretty scared, to tell you the truth. Are you scared?" "You shouldn't even talk like that. It's negative thinking. You can make something bad happen if you imagine it." "I don't even know what it'll be like, so how can I imagine it?" "We could ask the Tarot." "How about right now?" "Oh, no," she said softly. "Too many influences on the cards. It wouldn't be right in here." "So, you're going to start down the Grand Canyon without knowing what it would say?" Her green eyes were calm, maybe too calm to be real, I thought. "I'm a water sign," Star said. A Pisces. A fish can always swim." A couple of hours passed as we rumbled down the back roads. Everyone in the back was nodding off, even Rita. I was exhausted and slept in fits and starts. Once I woke up, looked around, and saw only Freddie and Troy awake up front. They were talking quietly, actually communicating with each other. I thought that was a good sign. Our lives were going to depend on those guys. I noticed Troy checking me out in the rearview mirror. The white showed all around his eyes. Our driver was totally alert, as advertised. He gave me a thumbs up. I felt good all down my spine. I felt alive. This was going to be an adventure, all right. I didn't go back to sleep. I was too excited. I thought about my dad, how this was much more than he'd bargained for. It would be the ultimate way to show him. Al, too. They both deserved it. We rumbled on into the night, occasionally passing by sleeping Navajo hogans and deserted roadside jewelry stands, and the sense of the isolation into which we were plunging got me to imagining more and more what it might be like to actually be in the Grand Canyon, beyond any help, and trying to make it through alive. I could picture only the vaguest of shapes. The place loomed impossibly huge, mythical, ominous. I remembered the thrashing Heather took in Skull Rapid. Al said that Skull was an 8 on a 10 scale at the level we ran it. What must a 9 or 10 look like? What would happen to us down there? Brooding more. With every passing mile, I actually began to hope that we'd have a flat, or that the van would break down. But it kept rumbling along. We passed the gas station in the middle of nowhere, closed down for the night, and I realized I'd seen a phone booth. Panicky, I leaned forward and touched Troy on the shoulder. "Stop," I said. He looked over his shoulder at me, confused and unwilling. "Stop!" I yelled. If anybody had been asleep, they were awake now. Troy brought the van to a stop on the side of the road. "What is it?" I was practically desperate. I didn't care what anybody thought. "I have to make a phone call," I said. "You're kidding," Pug said. He looked around. "She thought she'd make a phone call." I was backing out the side door. Everyone's eyes were on me. I just kept going, got outside, and started running back toward the gas station. Troy caught up with me as I ran. What are you doing? Making a phone call. Who are you calling? My father. He looked sick. He didn't say anything. He just kept jogging. Don't worry, I won't say where we are or where we're going. I just have to talk to him, okay? When I got there, Troy stood only about 15 feet away from the booth. I went inside, shut the door, and turned my back to him. I was breathing hard as I asked the operator to make the call collect. I was afraid Madeline would answer. I was so panicky I didn't know what I would do if she answered. My father answered. Jesse, is that you? Where are you? I felt so confused. Now what was I going to do? Why was I calling him? It's not important, I said, still breathing hard, and my heart going wild. Jesse, are you all right? Troy, I realized, was standing right by the phone booth. Sure. You don't sound so good. Is anything wrong? No, nothing's wrong. Where are you calling from? Somehow he knew I wasn't where I was supposed to be. What was it I wanted to tell him? Look, Dad, we're going to do something, okay? Jesse, talk to me. You can talk to me. What is it you're going to do? I looked up into Troy's face. He was pretty unhappy, and he was signaling with his finger across the throat. I wasn't answering my dad. I was so confused. Jesse, I have confidence in you. I know you'll do the right thing. Don't make any choices you won't want to live with, okay? Sure, Dad, I sniffled. I wanted to speak, but I couldn't. I wanted to say, I love you. I felt like it might be the last chance, but I didn't. I don't know if I couldn't. I only know I didn't. Jesse? It'll be okay, Dad. Bye. Quickly, I hung up the phone. Troy and I didn't talk about it. And I was too disoriented, too guilty even to think about how pushy Troy had been. When I got back in the van, Rita said with those beady black eyes, So, who'd you call? My father, all right. Jesse didn't say anything, Troy explained as he started up the van. So I could have called my mother? Rita wailed. You guys are really considerate, you know that? Adam laughed and said, Notice who didn't leave the keys in the ignition? Well, I feel a lot better, I said. How nice for you, Heather snapped. About 1 a.m, Troy pulled out onto the narrow bridge and slowed the van down. Colorado River, he sang out, and we all came lurching out of our sleep and looked down. Far below, the black surface of the river was reflecting starlight. Spooky. Past the bridge, we came to a filling station and trading post that was all closed down for the night. No more phone calls, Troy announced decisively. Pug said we should break in for supplies, but everybody knew he was only talking. We turned down the road marked Lee's Ferry. After a couple of miles, we passed some parking lots, a campground, and a ranger station. The road dead-ended at a wide concrete boat ramp at the river. There were a couple of cars in the lot there, some bathrooms, and good overhead light. Nobody's around, Troy said. Perfect. Okay, you guys, we know how to rig, just like we did at Westwater. Pump up the boats, rig frames, stow all the rocket boxes in dry bags, tie everything down, dry bags in between the nets in the middle of the paddle raft, everything else on the oared raft, and whisper. Let's see how fast we can get out of here and slide downstream. Pug hadn't been listening. Pointing over at a sign, he said, Get a load of this! Private boaters must register permit with a river ranger. What a laugh! Anybody see any river rangers? We set to work. We rigged the boats. We were out of our minds with anticipation. Were we really going to do this? We weren't just talking about it. Troy drove the van and the trailer into a dirt lot, then came back. We were dead tired. The first hint of dawn was starting to show, and still no river rangers. Nobody at all. We got to get out of here, Troy said. We hustled. It was all a blur, but finally the boats were rigged. Hey, where's Heather? Rita said suddenly, and she wasn't whispering. Everybody looked around, and the realization sunk in. She split, Rita said. Heather split. Of course, I thought. It makes perfect sense. Run up to the John, Troy ordered. Check both of them. Adam and Rita came back running. Gone, they said, breathing hard. What do we do? Yeah, Pug said. What if she squeals? Troy reached for his life jacket. Forget it, so she squeals. We moved toward the boats. One was a paddle raft with all of our personal stuff in the dry bags, and one was the road raft with all the food and group gear. "Who's rowing?" I asked. "Al had rowed on the Westwater trip." "I am," Troy answered. "Let's get going." "You got a river map, Troy?" Freddie asked. Troy waved his arms impatiently. His eyes were jumpy. I'd never seen him nervous like this before. "I got my Arizona road map," he said. "It's got the river on it." He didn't say it like a joke. That was the thing. Adam didn't even make hay out of it, and he'd never been handed a better setup. This was the moment. We could have backed out right here. We all looked around at each other, and I bet we were all thinking the same thing. We didn't really know what we were doing, yet we dared each other into this. If we backed down now, our self-respect was going to go down the tubes. We'd be totally whipped. Of all people, I grabbed my paddle and stepped into the paddle raft. Maybe I wanted to make up for my phone call, or for being the one who kept us from the top of Storm Peak. "We'll make it up as we go," I said. "We can't get lost. You just float downriver." Star was right behind me. "I'm with Jessie," she said. Troy was pleased. "We can scout the rapids as we come to 'em. Remember how good we were in Westwater?" "I want mother," Pug sang, and everybody laughed. And then we were off, paddling for the current in the dawn. The ramp slipping away behind us, we paddled through a rifle, alongside a low cliff on the left, and passed into the rising walls of a canyon. With a look back, I saw the water tower at the ranger station disappear. Troy rowed his boat alongside ours, barely above us. Bats were zooming at crazy angles. "Let's put the bridge behind us before we stop," Troy advised. "Well, guys, we're really doing it. We're pirating the Grand Canyon of the Colorado." "Pirates, oh, the Colorado!" Pug roared. He pulled out his buck knife, an item Al never knew about, and put it between his teeth. "Ninja pirates," Adam declared. Rita bounced up and down on the front of the raft. "Bring on the Grand Canyon! We'll kick its butt!" And there was Freddie, with a beautiful grin on his quiet face, his eyes drinking in the water, the walls, the bats, and the last reluctant stars.